All right, y'all. So, been doing a lot of research as usual, and I want to share something that I stumbled upon this week. Well, several weeks now I've been studying this, and I just want to share with you guys. So, if you're not familiar, there's a passage, I believe it's in the book of Matthew, where it says that a man's enemy will be those of his own household. Also, it says in the book of Matthew that a house divided cannot stand. I'm going to say that again. A house divided cannot stand, and a man's own enemy will be those of his own household. Now, the exoteric definition of that, the exoteric interpretation of that, exoteric meaning that which is on the surface, that natural interpretation, it would mean a house divided among itself cannot stand will mean if you and your partner, your husband, if you're a woman, your wife, if you're a man, if you and your wife are not on one accord inside of your house, that relationship, that marriage will not last. If you guys are divided, the home that you have built will not sustain. It will not last. That's the exoteric definition. A man's enemy will be those of his own household. That means your family members, those who you are in the house with, will be your own enemies. Those will be the ones that backstab and betray you. That's called the exoteric interpretation. It is a simplified, literal interpretation. Now, the esoteric is what fascinates me, and I believe that's what Jesus meant. I believe that's what the scriptures meant, is the esoteric interpretation, which is the hidden or the deeper or the spiritual meaning. That's what esoteric means. It means the second meaning to the first meaning, or the second interpretation to the first interpretation, the second story to the first story. I think I kind of made that clear. So let's look at the esoteric. The esoteric, a man's house will be those of his own. A man's enemy will be those of his own household, and a house divided cannot stand. Now, the esoteric house means, esoterically, house means your body. It means you. Whenever you see the word house in the Bible, esoterically, it's referring to you personally, right? It's a subjective pronoun. House is a subjective pronoun. It is referring and referencing you, the person. Okay, so we have that established. The enemies that is of your own household, esoterically enemy means high blood pressure. High blood pressure within your house. Remember, the house is your body. So your body, if you have high blood pressure would be the enemy within your own body, which is the house. A man's enemy will be those within his own household. High blood pressure is one of the enemies. High cholesterol is another enemy. High sugar, which is diabetes, is another enemy. So so within your body, which is the house, you're going to have biological enemies. Those enemies comes in the forms of biological anatomical illnesses, or dis-ease, which is pronounced disease. So the diseases in your body are the enemies in your house. So a man's enemies will be those of his own household. Other enemies that are not necessarily anatomical or biological, well, they are biological, but they're more mental. So you have other enemies within your own house, which is depression. Depression is one of the many enemies that will be found inside of your house. That is in the mental upper room, which is in your mind, the brain. You will find depression, doubt, self-doubt, self-inflicted limitations, self-sabotatory behaviors, right? When you self-sabotage. So self-sabotage is another enemy inside of your house. Self-loathing and self-hate, those are synonymous, is another enemy that you will find hidden within your house. Self-deprecation is another enemy that you will find within your house. Anxiety, right, is another enemy that you will find inside of your house. A man's inside of a man's house will be his own enemies, right? So in your house, you will have your own enemies. In your house, in your body, inside of yourself. These are the enemies that the Bible esoterically is speaking about when it says a man's enemies will be those of his own household. There's a house divided cannot stand. That esoterically means if you have something called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance, let me tell you what that looks like to give you the definition of what that means. I believe that cigarette causes me cancer, yet still I smoke a cigarette. So on one hand, I believe my belief and my actions are at odds, which is called dissonance. That's what the word dissonance means, to be at odds. So you have what's called cognitive dissonance. Mentally, I know smoking cigarettes is wrong, but my behavior, my deeds, my actions says otherwise. So I am at what's called cognitive dissonance. Therefore, I am divided amongst myself. A house divided cannot stand. I am the house. If I am doing things that if my actions are at odds with my beliefs, I'm in what's called cognitive dissonance. Therefore, I am divided amongst myself. I will not stand, right? So a house divided among itself cannot stand. If I make plans to start a business, but I never execute, I am at cognitive dissonance. Because cognitively, meaning from my faculties, mentally, I'm making all the plans, but I never take action. Cognitive dissonance, I am that's called a dichotomy in terms of my thoughts and my behavior. I am divided amongst myself. There's another passage in the same book of Matthew that says, agree with your enemies quickly. Esoterically, that means agree with your enemies quickly. It means that I must go within myself and I must bring my house in harmony. Meaning, I must make my thoughts be in harmony with my actions, and my actions harmonize with my thoughts. Therefore, bringing myself to equilibrium or homeostasis, which is just balance. No longer am I at a dichotomy or a cognitive dissonance. Excuse me. I am at one with myself. Because I walk the walk, I talk the talk, not only talk the talk, but I walk the walk. So I'm actually bringing myself in harmony with myself. That's the house divided. I'm bringing that house in union, in harmony. A man's enemies will be those of his own household. That means how I fix that. Agree with my enemies quickly. I must go within myself, my health. I must agree with my health. What does that look like? Okay, I know that smoking cigarettes is gonna get me sick. It's gonna make me sick. I must kick that habit. I must work within myself, right? I must dig within myself and find the issue within myself and resolve that issue within myself. Therefore, I am agreeing with my enemies quickly. If my doctor says, hey, your blood pressure is high, I must start to take the right steps, whether it means my diet, whether it means exercising, de-stressing, removing certain factors from my life that's causing me high blood pressure, bring my cortisol levels down, which are my stress hormones. Therefore, I am now agreeing with the enemy of blood pressure quickly. Right? I'm making agreements with my blood pressure quickly. My diabetic, if I have diabetes, if I'm diabetic, I must change my eating habits. Again, my dietary supplements, my exercise, whatever I have to do to bring my sugar levels down, I am agreeing with the enemy of diabetes quickly, therefore preserving my health, my strength, and my life. These are the steps you must do to agree with your enemies quickly. The esoteric interpretation, that's what I'm giving you and what it looks like. So again, a lot of times we'll read these scriptures out of context, or we'll just read them in the exoteric, which is the external, shallow surface interpretation, missing what is really being instructed to us, that the work is within. It's not so much outside. The work is inside. And when the work is done within, then that which is without will take care of itself, make the appropriate adjustments, because you won't need to make any external adjustments, because once the internal work is being done, magnum opus, which is Latin for the great work, when the great work is being done within, agreeing with your enemies quickly, bringing reconciliation between the enemies within your house, bringing the division within the house into union. Once those things, those scriptures are properly digested, marinated, extrapolated, interpreted, then you'll be able to get the results that you're looking for in your external world. Till next time, hope this information was somewhat useful. Y'all have a good weekend. Peace.